Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for a morning stream. Now, you might think, who the hell is this person on the screen? Where is Mike? What have you done with him? He's in the retirement home today, okay? Only for today though, because he's had a bit of a problem. He's fell down the stairs, and I don't think he can live up to doing the morning stream today. So I just, I thought it was best if I did it today. Let him rest. He's really hurt his head. He's got his 2 walking sticks. He's taking 50 pills a day. You might not see it. He actually puts an entire full face mask on when he comes on stream to hide the sheer lack of everything he has. He's got skin drooping down to his knees from his face. His wrinkles are crazy. So, you might not notice because he hides it on camera. But, yeah, he's getting old. No, I'm joking. Okay, it's only me for today. He's editing the interview I did with Nedos for Good Beat Free AI. And he needs the time to do it and whatnot. So I'm doing the morning stream today, so don't worry. After this, if you hate me, if you watch the stream and go, this is the worst morning stream I've ever watched in my existence of watching morning streams, do not worry, because next morning stream, it will be Mike again, so do not worry. So if you really hate this, it's only for today. But hello everyone, good morning to you all. Thank you for joining the stream today. Today we've got a few things to talk about. We'll be talking about Bitcoin and some charts. Obviously, you know how I am with charts, and I was supposed to do yesterday's stream, but I was doing today's stream, so I didn't do yesterday's stream. But I am going to post in Telegram later on a full breakdown on most things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Syrup, and Crow, as I normally do. So for the stream missed out yesterday, for the people who watched my chart streams, I will post in Telegram as well. But we are looking at Bitcoin very briefly. Again, I do not want to make this a chart stream. I want to keep this truthful to what Mike would normally hopefully do. So that is the kind of plan. So like I said, good morning to everybody. Hopefully you all doing well on this morning, evening, whatever time zone you're in. We have some X-Files, obviously, as always. You know what? Let me actually move the sidebar. There we go. Beautiful. It's been a while since I've used a sidebar on my streams. But we'll get through it. I'm not going to go through the sidebar. We'll just go through it, okay? So, starting off with the X-Files, okay? Actually, let me just check something. Let me make sure my audio. Okay. So, from DZ Bitcoin. If you would have invested 10k into each of these 7 crypto assets exactly 1 year ago, this is your portfolio value. Now, what I took away from this, actually, let me read the prices out first. So, XRP, you'd be up 320%, ADA 50, Bitcoin 36%, Ethereum 26, Link 21, Sol minus 17, and Pepe 23%. Now, I think some of these are relatively fair. I think some are slightly unfair. Obviously, everything's kind of come down. I think out of everything, as I've been looking at the charts on my streams, Solana has definitely been ripping down the most. I don't know who would be putting 10 grand into Pepe. I think you deserve that if you're really putting 10 grand into Pepe. I don't know why you would bother doing that, but obviously people have money and they can do what they want with it. Obviously, XRP is pretty high there. Obviously, some of these are it's 1 year ago today. I think longevity wise, it depends. Again, if it was a year play, fine or whatever. But I don't think this is. I think this is a bit of an arbitrary post. I don't really think it's too truthful to the full extent of what you could do. But again, this is obviously based on this allotted time frame of a year, which is fair. This would be the prices. So obviously very good for XRP holders. You can wake up from your coffins like Dracula, go, oh my god, I'm winning, and be on with your day. I also saw this in the comments as well. I thought this would be interesting to also mention alongside all these cryptos is if you invested 10 grand into gold 1 year ago, you'd have a 22.97% increase. So anything above that, I would argue, is obviously more profitable. Pretty simple link there. But speaking of Link, you pretty much get the same return, actually, near enough, $200 out. So you're missing out on those couple of McDonald's meals from Link. But if you're investing in, I think it was 23%, so Ethereum, Bitcoin, ADA, or XRP, you'd be better than gold. So I think that's kind of the standard, especially in crypto anyway. That's kind of the standard. If you're doing better than gold in terms of return, then, it's worthwhile. But anyway, going on to the next post, we have Dan Crypto Trades. Bitcoin is in this phase where usually it sees a lot of volatility and price action. It is not out of the ordinary to see double-digit percentage weeks around the month of November. It's good to note that Bitcoin is on track for its worst start to November ever after a disappointing October. It's been clear for a long time now, but this cycle is like no other. And as we can see in the screenshot, we have a weekly return rate, and we can see 2025, the 43rd, and the 44th. And unfortunately, I'm not someone who knows which week starts with what, but I can assume 41st week, 41st. Why is it? Okay, whoever's made this website, you suck. Because you've made the table a lot the suffix of th on every single number. And that works for 47th, but not for 43rd, not 31st. I sound like a drunk pixie Irishman trying to say 45th. But anyway, I'm assuming that's probably within the last week of maybe it's coming to October time. Obviously, this is the first week of November, so I can only assume that this is 45th in the last week of October, coming into November. As we can see, this a rough time frame of this entering into November time has been pretty negative, as obviously you guys have probably experienced firsthand. But yes. And obviously, I thought this was an interesting comment as well. Responding to this guy who said, if cycles even exist. And he said, well, if anything, the current price action is following the 4-year cycle pretty well so far. More people convinced of a top now than a few weeks ago. If you asked people last month, the consensus was that we'd run until 2026, 2027 easily. Now it's completely flipped. I mean, and I think this points out a good point. This points out a good kind of a point. I can't think of anything else to say. A good point with a lot of people in crypto. And I think people don't stick to their guns enough. I think people are very bandwagon hoppers, where they just kind of jump to the next thing. And especially when they come, when they say what they think about an XYZ coin, or what they think about the cycle as a whole and the crypto market as a whole, the amount of people, whether it be influencers or not, who I will see post. And the next, they'll post one thing about, one thing, and they'll think, okay, 2027, here we go. That's the high. We're going to run all the way to 2027, like, obviously, he's rightly said here. And the next minute, they're saying it's over. And I think people do not stick to what they think hard enough, especially in crypto, which is fine. Again, crypto's a very volatile place in comparison to some other places. But I think it's very disappointing. I think it undermines, number one, what someone could think if they are obviously, quite right. If they're 90% right and they keep on jumping and they keep on getting it wrong because they have no strength in their arguments, then it's undermined to themselves, and it is really a bad look at someone if they're saying different things every 2 seconds. Obviously, I would rather be proudly wrong than mildly right. You know what I mean? But yeah, so very negative so far. Again, obviously we can see that. We will look at Bitcoin in a second after we go through the first article, obviously the X Files, and I do want to look at the market calendar because we do have some stuff coming up which will be very important. So going on to the next X file, we have maple. So the maple lovers out here, okay, the morning glucose connoisseurs of syrup. There is a call, an update call for Q4. So join Maple's Q4 ecosystem call on Wednesday, November 12th at 11 a.m. ET. Hear directly from Joe, DeFi, and Syrup. Syrup said, as they share Maple's latest milestones, unveil upcoming Q4 releases, and discuss what lies ahead for 2026. So obviously, if you are very interested in Maple, and as someone who is part of our community and are actually on the Maple side of the community, you can go to this. I could probably put this in the comment. I do not know if I'm logged in. So I can post it in Telegram. I'll post it in Telegram. So for the people out there, I will keep this saved, post it in Telegram. There is a Q4 ecosystem call. So jumping on to the next, nearing the last X file. Wendio, Google teams up with Polymarket to bring real-time prediction market odds to Google Search and Google Finance, which is pretty huge. Again, I think Polymarket, it's all encompassing to many markets, whether it be outside or inside of crypto. I believe there's obviously crypto specific ones out there as well, but I think with Polymarket, I think it will have a huge effect on most things. I think this is be pretty cool. I don't know if this is really gonna cause things to change course in terms of the market sentiment, but I think it's a pretty cool thing to look at. I think it's good integration between Google and Polymarket. It's huge for it's huge for Polymarket, absolutely, and huge for Polymarket users, but I don't know if this is really going to be alt season liquidity is about to explode. I don't really think it's going to be doing that. I think that is a bit of an overreach. I might be completely wrong, but so cool partnership between Polymarket and the Google Finance space with Google. So I think it's pretty cool, but yeah, a bit of a dud one. I don't really care. It's cool though. And lastly, we have Ali charts. Over 10,000 Bitcoin bought by whales in the last 24 hours. Clearly hasn't seemed to matter. Obviously, we're continuing to get downwards. It doesn't really matter, but still people are buying on the way down. I think this is a good message to people out there who might be really worried about what's going on in the market. It is all circumstantial. Okay, we might be going down. It might be heavy. It depends. If you're in futures or spot, is two worlds of difference. Okay, if you're trading futures and you don't know how to set a stop loss in some app you've only first used. Obviously, I can experience that firsthand. You don't know how to actually do that, and you learn by trying and you learn by doing. But other than that, if you're in spot, it doesn't matter. Okay, you know, it might go down as long as you're not 80 and you're gonna die maybe in like 2 years, and it might be over in your life. That I get that. Okay, I get the wanting the return for your kids maybe, or whatever, your grandkids. But if you're not gonna die in the next however many years it's gonna take to go all the way back up again, I don't think it matters. It depends on what economic situation you're in. I get that. You know, if you're in a tough economic situation, that might not, you know, might not be nice to see things go down after you've invested into them. But you know, I suppose that could be poor money management. Not to comment on anyone's economic situation or their choices. Again, this is not financial advice, non-judgment stream here. But you know, if, every single last dime of your wealth is in Bitcoin. Again, great for the future, but you might not be able to buy food for the next week, so you might want to consider getting out of it. But again, you know, we are coming down. I've been wanting it to come down for a while. Obviously, whether this be circumstantial on outside sources or this actually just be based on charts, I don't care, okay? Because ever since we get to the highs, I want it to come down. So, you know, I think this is normal. Some people might not think this isn't normal. Again, like Dan said, cyclical, circular. I don't know. I can never say that version of the word. Obviously, things will go down. We said, you know, Mike and I have been saying this on the channel. Sometime in November, we should be seeing the high. Obviously, October time was a bit early. But within the November time area, within at least Q4, we should be seeing that high coming downwards. So whether we've seen it now, whether we come up and come back down in November, whatever it be, we should see that. But again, we are barreling down pretty heavy. So you know, and we have started to break downwards quite heavily. And obviously, you might think, oh, we've come from all-time highs to now. You'd think we'd broken down, but structure versus a volatile price move are two different things, okay? But yeah, anyway, 10,000 Bitcoin bought, none the wiser. So as everyone is panicking, these big old people are buying. So maybe you can take a lesson if you are really worrying and you do have some extra capital and you think, oh, well, Bitcoin can go to $1,000. I'm not buying Bitcoin anymore. Look at it. We're at like 100K right now. I'm not buying it. Yeah, this is what the big boys are doing. Anyway, going on to our first chart here, we have Bitcoin better ? So, JP Morgan sees Bitcoin as more attractive than gold after price dip. So the footnotes here, I will read some quotes well through. I don't really read every word from this; it's a waste of time, really. But I'll read the footnotes or the head notes, if you will, the index, whatever this is. JP Morgan says Bitcoin is undervalued by 68k, which would price it about 169k. We're at about 101 now, 100k, basically 168k. So JP Morgan themselves think Bitcoin should be at 168k. And it is now more attractive than gold. Bitcoin slips below 101k as job cuts, weak stocks, and ETF outflows weigh on sentiment. Fed rate cuts, odds rise to 69%, but uncertainty keeps Bitcoin near key 100k level. So obviously talking about it coming down. So fresh data from employment firm Challenger Gray & Christmas reveals more than 153,000 job cuts in October, which is the highest for that month since 2003. We saw this obviously with a lot of Amazon, a lot of Meta probably, Rockstar, only 40 though. I know Amazon cut a lot of jobs. I'm trying to think of the other companies. They've immediately slipped my mind as soon as I said Amazon, but I know there's been quite a lot of cuts, especially in the tech sector. And again, tech sector isn't the entire area of the job market for America especially, but I mean, tech is quite a big foothold on American jobs in certain areas, especially anyway. But obviously, I could understand if quite a lot of those jobs could be attributed to them. Maybe the Nvidia cut jobs as well. I can't remember. But 153 as a whole. But we do have some data I will look at. Obviously, I want to show it here. We have some payroll, unemployment rate based data. Friday, November 7th, obviously, which is today, 5 p.m. my time, which is UTC +2. I believe that. I don't know if I need to change that. I can't remember if the clocks have gone backwards or what. Or clocks on forwards. I don't know if this is. I think this is still the same. Whatever. Some point later today, there's going to be data. So obviously we have previous, and we'll see what it's going to be. But obviously based on the idea, and again, this isn't permanent, but as we can see by some other employment firms, that we have seen the highest amount of job cuts since 2003. So this is, I don't care if 2003 was some amazing year. All I care about is that this has been one of the highest job cuts, obviously in October, in a while, which obviously might kind of tip into the fact of what could be announced later on today. Obviously, not exactly. It's not a binary operation here. It's not a one-to-one representation, but could give a slight consensus as to what we could be expecting later on today. Quote by Andy Challenger: October's pace for job cutting was much higher than average for the month. So obviously this is within normal Octobers anyway. The latest figures added to the investor unease, particularly as the ongoing US government shutdown has delayed official employment reports. Analysts suggest the grim data could pressure the Federal Reserve to deliver more rate cuts to support the economy. The economy may need more interest rate cuts from the Federal... Okay, we just saw that, didn't we? So I mean, it's just negativity. It's basically jobs down, not great. Gold go down again. As soon as we saw people buying gold, physically go, oh yeah, that gold thing. I remember that gold thing. I should go buy some of that. It's over. Exit liquidity. It's over. Okay, and obviously we've seen it go down. I haven't actually looked at gold charts. You know what I should do on my streams, and I know I shouldn't add more charts to my streams because it's already an hour and 15 minutes when I do my chart streams, let alone adding more charts. I should maybe look at some things outside of Bitcoin. Obviously, if people are interested in that, I could do it. Maybe we could look at gold. But the point I was making was I haven't actually looked at gold and the price. I don't care. Okay, I'm not a gold trader, so I don't actually know what the exact price is right now. But I'm pretty sure it's going down. I'm pretty sure it's negative. I don't think I've heard of it being positive at any point recently. So in terms of the flip, I mean, again, everything's going down as a whole, but regardless, the valuation of what JP Morgan thinks Bitcoin should be at and where it is a big disparity there. So they are clearly a lot more positive on Bitcoin than gold, which is understandable. Anyway, jumping to I could probably do this second one, then we can go to the Bitcoin chart, look at it quickly, and then come back. So we have Cathie Wood's new Bitcoin target, only a measly $1.2 million by 2030. Only, in quotes as well, only 1.2 million, because clearly that's not that lot. That's not that much. People got 1 Bitcoin out there, 2 Bitcoin out there. 1.2 million. That's chump change, especially with Cathie Wood. Oof, that's like a Sunday brunch to her. Okay, and stablecoins are to blame apparently. So let's see why she thinks this. So I don't care about this. Oh come on, what am I looking at? What is this? Oh come on, really? Okay, I'm very. I could inspect element and get rid of this, but I don't think anyone wants to see that. So maybe I could just talk about the target, I suppose. And then that pops up, and it's okay. I don't know. Am I like okay? Okay, I was gonna make a joke there, but I probably shouldn't do that. I don't know who they think I am, being able to read through this slit. And yet alone, I don't know if they think I'm some alien who can read blurred text. Okay. But I'm not inspecting element this. I would do in any other normal. I would delete this. I would delete the. Should I do it? Okay. You know what? Just ignore it. Okay. I'm just gonna get rid of all this crap. Okay. Just ignore me. Let's see. Is there gonna be some sort of? Okay. I see. This is the thing. I don't want it to take too long. Just okay. Let me see. Because it might be a different area. Okay. Paywall wrapper. Here we go. There might be a thing going on here. I don't want to do this because if I take ages to do this, you guys aren't very happy with me. You know what I mean? Okay, it might be. Okay, let's see. I should just not bother doing this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to do this. No. Okay, whatever. Let's just talk about the title. Okay, so Cathie Wood thinks 1.2 million, only 1.2 million, which is very good. And then she says, and stablecoins are to blame. I'm going to infer what that could mean. I'm probably going to be wrong, and then we're going to move on and pretend I'm right. So it could be the fact we have the availability of stablecoins and people being so familiar with fiat and safety in stability and people not knowing what the market's going to do and people saying one thing and people thinking the other and then everyone has the majority of their money held in stablecoins rather than doing a proper portfolio like 60% Bitcoin or 6% Bitcoin and Ethereum or 80% or whatever it's going to be versus just holding in stablecoins. I think that could be the case maybe where people are very maybe she thinks that people would be, if they weren't stablecoins, everyone would be in Bitcoin and the price would be a lot higher than where it is. That's what I'm going to infer. I don't know. But she thinks we should be at 1.2 million. But the amount of times you see these people, and obviously, you know, Cathie Wood, you hear that name a lot, okay? You hear the name a lot. And, you know, she's a big player, okay, when it comes to these bets. No, not bets so much. My camera's gone blue, so hopefully my camera doesn't move too much. Not bets so much, but predictions in the future. But you hear it from everybody. You hear it from anybody who has half a standing when it comes to financial social media, whether that be news, obviously Jim Cramer, you know how it is with him. But the amount of people who say, oh yeah, I think Bitcoin should be at $2 million right now. And it's just a throwaway. And I remember very specifically talking about this in the office with Mike when we did one of the streams we did. And I was saying, we are going to, and best part is, I don't remember who I was talking about. I can't remember what her name was. I think maybe it was an Ellie something. I can't remember. And I said, it was like a 3 million Bitcoin or some crap like that. And I said, this won't matter in like a week. I will forget, you'll forget, Mike will forget, everyone will forget what she said, and it doesn't matter anymore. And the only reason I remember is because I remember being irate about it and talking about it. Because these people could just say what they want, when they want, and people will forget. And they can either go, I was wrong, I'm going to ignore it, or I was really right, and I'm going to pump this. You know what I mean? So it's like, and you know, it's like what Andrew Tate does. You know, he'll just say one thing, he'll do the other. He bought this much Bitcoin, he thinks Bitcoin. He bought XYZ Bitcoin. I can't remember how much Bitcoin he bought. He bought a bunch of Bitcoin, and he still thought Bitcoin was going to 30k. Even he is taking direct advice from Jim Cramer, or he's an idiot, or he's doing this to go, okay, I've said one thing and done another, which means I will be right either way. So it'll mean I will lose a lot of money, but I will have said the right thing, and I will appear like I'm an amazing investor. Or he will say one thing and buy the other, and he'll go, look guys, I bought Bitcoin when it was at its bottom, here we go. And it's just like, you're such, and this is what crypto market as a whole does, you're such like a wet fish, you're just flopping about, left, right, I think this thing, I do the other thing. It's like, same thing with this, it's like, she will say, I think it's going to go to $1.2 million by 2030, and that's it. People will forget, whatever. People go, oh wow, 1.2 million, woohoo, and then they might have a subconscious bias change, and they might slightly edge or teet onto the fact that it might be more bullish. And oh, everyone thinks this, I'm going to be a bit more bullish now. But it's not really an active thing, it's more of a subconscious thing. But I don't care. It's only a subconscious thing if you're an absolute surface level trader or surface level thing, and you just buy it and that's it. Which obviously, you know, depends. If you get too involved with futures and whatnot, you actually might lose more money than you would be holding stable coins or just holding Bitcoin as a whole. But you know what I mean. I need to move on. Okay, it's I'm talking too much about this article. Okay, so. Gone through some Bitcoin articles. I'm going to look at the Bitcoin chart. Again, like I said, we did look at this. Just wanted to point out before I have a glance at the Bitcoin charts, just wanted to mention that there is data. And obviously, I'm not saying it's going to be negative. But what we read with the job people, you know, the big old job people in America, they're not very happy about October. This has been the worst October since 2003. So, obviously... it won't be good. Potentially, it might not potentially be good. Maybe, we don't know. Okay, but it might give us a little, assumption. I'm not going to assume that this data is negative, but I'm going to take a bit more of a bias that it's negative, and it might not be. But importantly, like I said, we have non-farm payrolls and we have an unemployment rate. So let's see what the forecast is. So the forecast, So is a consensus of is consensus of this current is this of this current prediction? Because obviously we have forecast, because that you'd think forecast would mean consensus for the forecast, but then we have consensus and then a forecast. But either way, whatever. We have previous as 22 with a consensus of 50k. So I guess we'll see what it is. You know what? We'll see how it is. I just want to point out that that's there. Let me read the chat, actually. They got too much ego and never admit when they're wrong. Exactly. I mean, I think, I think it's... If people look at your content or look at you as a person and what you say, and then you go out and say, I was wrong on this, I got this wrong, or I missed this and I was wrong. And then they go, oh, well, this guy's an idiot. He got this thing. He got this one thing wrong. You know, I'm not listening to this guy. He's a waste of time. And then they'll go follow the people who, no matter what they do, they will always say they're right. And they are cheating themselves out of an honest person. And obviously, I'm not saying this at whole spiel to say, oh, well, look at me, guys. I say when I'm wrong. But I don't think you guys aren't stupid, okay? And I don't think it's beating around the bush. And people who act like that garner stupid people. Because the real people go, well, this guy said one thing and did the other. This guy's an idiot, you know. Or you know, they'll watch one stream and they'll say the one thing, and they'll go on the next stream and say the other. It's like, well, he said this last stream. Why is he saying this now? So it's like they don't stick to their guns. They don't do the same thing. Obviously, you know, if something changes, you're clearly going to change sentiment. That's fine. But saying one thing and doing another, and treating your audience like they don't even know what you're saying, and it's like they've been born yesterday, and they've not watched a stream since this one. This is the first stream they're watching. They've no idea what you just said. How are you acting like these people like don't know what you just said? And you know, like you said, it's like they never admit they're wrong. It's like this will garner stupid people. So it's doing themselves a disservice, not only to the viewer but also to the content creator. Because if this content creator, you don't want that sort of people. On the flip side of it, you don't want that sort of people in your audience. If they think you get one thing wrong, you go, oh well, this guy's an idiot. He gets everything wrong. You know what I mean? So it's just, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody not admitting you're wrong. And it takes, you know, you should be able to admit, oh, I messed up here. And people who actually have substance to them will go, okay, that's a respectful thing to do. In theory, anyway. So, Bitcoin. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm on the 4 hour. I don't want to jump around too many time frames here. I am going to post later on, probably after the stream, on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. You know, all the things I'm doing in the stream. Because I know I did miss yesterday. I do apologize. I was doing today's stream. So I'm just going to post like I did and just give a rounded post, okay, about what it is. So this has been a very negative down move, okay. We have been hitting the minimum up moves on retracements. This retracement from high to low, after we printed past these lows, retracement, it was barely to equilibrium. I thought we'd go a bit higher. We didn't. We continued downwards, and then obviously forming areas on the way downwards. Obviously, this was previous support, which we did nearly see into this gap. Obviously, flipping this, and you can see we did use this area as resistance. I remember, I think I put this out on stream actually, that I thought this was going to be support. Or would be support, but we formed a gap on the, we flipped this gap on the way upwards and used it as support. So we weren't able to get down to this because we didn't need to. But I said if we do continue this downtrend, we will flip this, and this will be a breakup block, and this will be resistance. So we can see as we move forward, we did see this as resistance. Obviously, we did have this area here. Let's just mark out the entire area. I believe that's what it was. Obviously, these down moves to the up move. We can see we did kind of come to the midpoint, try and find support. We found this massive gap here. We had previous areas back here as well, finding a bit of resistance. Basically just in this area as a whole, and then we come down, printing past the low, obviously continuing down this downtrend, finally reversing this previous order block, which is now a breaker block, finding resistance at that midpoint here as well. Obviously, I have drawn some other areas of the lower time frame resistances in this area. Obviously, we did have some of these areas here. You can see we have this down move into this up move into this gap, and then printing through this area here. Actually, more so, I should probably draw this area, but I have it on this one because we did have this down to the print upwards, and then reverse it. Resistance midpoint. We found another one here coming upwards and then printing through it here just to point that out as an area as a whole. But we do have resistance here just to point out. But the main one as well is probably going to be this area because this is obviously the higher time frame resistance. This is really where the resistance is going to be at here. Obviously, you can see, you know, we did kind of find a slowdown in this area, you know, within if I draw it again. You can see we did start to print a bit above that high, but then we ticked upwards into this gap we formed, and then we just dumped again, obviously, which makes sense. So we continue downwards. Obviously, reverses, like I just said, find resistance. So this will be a resistance area, just to point out. So obviously, paying attention to this high to the low, bearing in mind how negative we are and what could happen obviously later, bearing that in mind with data, it could affect how the market moves. Well, I will just look at the charts here though. We did continue downwards from here, so looking at somewhere towards 105.4 as a minimum. So we did have this rejection block. We did see support once. We did see us coming down one more time for support here. We're not really too much of strength here. You know, this isn't really too strong, but we have seen support here. And I remember we drew this forward on previous streams and said, okay, this could be we could see some support here. But I remember saying explicitly, I don't think this is going to be a long-term support area. I just think this is going to be somewhere we're going to, you know, maybe hit a bit of a support at, but continue downwards ultimately. So doing that, we did see a touch of support at the top end, printing at the high. We then came back upwards to come back to our resistance in this main area here. And then obviously we continue back downwards. So that is mainly what it is. So again, coming back downwards, reversing this area, the idea of support to resistance, resistance to support, whatever. We then can see we trace back upwards to that midpoint, finding resistance again, and then start to come down a tiny bit. So this could be a high. Again, we've had down moves where we've had those sorts of highs, but again, I will stick to the idea of us coming towards better equilibrium, but we have had plenty of times before where we haven't come anywhere near it, which is fine. So it's kind of a toss-up between I use the idea of equilibrium as a gauge. Again, it's not permanent. We are, you know, continuing downwards from this resistance. We have formed gaps on the way downwards. We're coming into forming resistance. We are starting to print downwards. We have had that low move upwards. We have, you know, we haven't obviously printed the main low. We haven't gone past this high yet, so it's not a scenario where we've reversed and started to go back upwards, but, you know, we haven't gone past that low yet in terms of a massive down move. So the idea that, you know, we could have this before we move back downwards again is capable. So, you know, we do have some of these highs here, not only coming into this gap. So I do think if we were to come upwards, we probably could I could definitely see the idea of us seeing resistance at towards about 100, basically 105k is what I would say. But again, we do have data to bear in mind. We are currently coming downwards. I'm not saying, you know, we are going to permanently see a move upwards, but you know, we have reversed some areas on the way downwards. Obviously, we had this gap. We kind of came up with resistance, used it as support a bit, tried to come back upwards, continue back downwards, reversed it, came back into kind of this this two crossed area here between what we had, and then obviously we've reversed that and then start to come back downwards again. So we are very close to these lows again. We are continuing downwards, but we do have something within this area here for sure. So if we do start to go upwards again and we don't see this stopping point, then I think 105k could definitely be a point to see for a bit of resistance. 104.8 roundabout for Bitcoin, but is what I would like to see again. What I will say as well, going to the 4 hour quickly, we have reversed this resistance. We have used resistance, reverse support to resistance. What I will say as well is we did have this longer term support point. I remember marking out quite a while ago. I think it's on the weekly time frame, I believe, or something like that. We have this massive area here, obviously marking out the midpoint as a general area to see, okay, if you print through this and find it as resistance, obviously the main thing there is actually if you respect these areas, then it could be signs of us starting to use it as resistance and or actually reversing, because sometimes you can go this low and come back up and still continue as support, but it's not really high probability. You know, you don't really want to be seeing us print through these midpoints. You want to actually see support at the high or within the first 50% of the area. So with that case, again, we have used this area previously as a bit of support. We have, you know, come to these midpoints previously. We have wicked into these areas below midpoint, but we have come to these areas again. This one was a massive support area, again forming this wick here, coming to directly the midpoint of this weekly support here. And then obviously coming upwards, but we have seen a print through quite heavily, and we are seeing us kind of come to this area on the daily especially and the 4 hour, and seeing us kind of stop at this midpoint and come downwards. So that is kind of something I will say. You know, we've printed through this area, we've had a up close candle which is printed at that midpoint, and now we've had a down close candle as we've continued downwards. So that doesn't spark too much positivity in my heart. We also have this daily gap which sits where the 4 hour gap is as well. So I will say this area is probably high probability. But again, like I said, we have printed at this midpoint on the daily. We are continuing downwards. We have used these gaps. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we continue downwards, even though, on my opinion, would be, we want to see a move back upwards. You know, similar to how we saw kind of over here. We barely got to equilibrium. We barely saw a retracement before we dumped again. Very harsh down move we've had so far. So what I will say here is applying that over. Even if we barely touch that equilibrium, it's about 105k here. So, but again, we do have to do that. There's been plenty of times we haven't done that. So we are getting down quite heavily right now. But that is kind of my census right now. I'm still negative. You know, I haven't flipped anything. I mean, I'm not more negative, but I'm still more confident in my negativity from the fact that we've come through this midpoint and use it and started to try to use it as resistance, especially on the daily here, as we've come downwards. But again, we've definitely had that main print. Whatever this low is, I think the most important one, I have actually moved my my higher time frame shift. What I will say about where we are now, this is an important thing. I will trail this low, and that's the most important part. We can gauge where equilibrium is and where we could go to. We have officially printed past, whether it be the main low here or main low here. I had it drawn from this, okay? I had the high to low drawn like this, and we had retracing to equilibrium here, and then we came downwards. Okay, normal downtrend here. We have officially printed past that low. Very important. Very, very important. So we printed past that low here, meaning we have formed that high, the lower high, and the lower low. So we have continued this down move here. Now what that means is we're going to find our low. In theory, what that means is we're going to find that low, and then we're going to find a lower high. If we are continuing this down, which I do think we can do, we should be seeing that lower high. Okay. So what that means is we can look at where we have equilibrium, about 107k. Let's say we touch towards bottom ends of some of these support points. You know, let's say where are we going to touch for a support point? You know, coming towards the low end of things for this high to the low. You know, towards maybe 98k, whatever it's going to be, whether it be here, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a longer retracement towards, you know, about 108. towards about 107-ish, where this is here. Again, depends on how low we go. Also, I'm not saying that the data we have later on will cause anything, but based on the structure we have, once we print past that low, we should immediately now be looking to see when we're going to stop going down and start to go back upwards. Now, this isn't a long-term thing where we go back upwards all the way to 119k, but based on the structure we have, based on the fact that we've printed past this low, I want to see where we're going to stop here and go back upwards towards about 107k or wherever it's going to be for our new high in this continuation downwards, where we're going to see that new lower high and then come downwards. Again, my long-term for me is still this. And what I do want to see as well on the weekly is going to be, I want to see us, and this is obviously, this orchestrates weekly to weekly basis, okay? So I want to see a print into Monday below 102. That would be very important for me for the weekly time frame. I do want to see us print past this low. Again, we've had this low, we've had this move upwards, wicking past that high. We technically on the weekly haven't had that print past these main lows yet. So I do want to see us print past this low on the weekly. That would be very important. So my criteria right now is going to be, I'm still roughly negative right now on the lower time frames. I want to see us retrace about 107k long term for this downtrend. I also want to see weekly print below 102k. That's my criteria. But again, like I said, I've said this on previous streams. The minimum area I expect for a long-term low, from a high to from a low to a high to a higher low in an uptrend, by the way, is going to be somewhere below equilibrium. So equilibrium and lower. So the minimum. So it's like, okay, we have our support area, we have equilibrium, and then we have. So basically, we find equilibrium and then we look left. So it's going to be 100k, and then we look left. So it's going to be this low, 98k. So minimum, like or max or minimum low I see Bitcoin having is going to be somewhere past 98k. My perfect area is going to be towards 92k ish. Obviously, we have certain areas over here, but minimum is going to be 98k. I know that's a very wide range. Obviously, yeah, it is what it is. But this is what it is. So that is what it's going to be. So we have these lows. Minimum is going to be 98k. So I think to leave it off, criteria, I do want to see a print past 102k. In terms of what we have so far, we've printed past this low. I do want to see a retrace, on a daily case anyway, on a long term, I do want to see a retracement towards around about 107k. Lower time frame, again, this is only a retracement if this is our low. You know what I mean? So if we start to reverse, then fine, we could start to come upwards. So it's dependent on if this is our low. And obviously, we've currently seen resistance. We're starting to kind of come down a bit. I think relatively soon we'll see our low. Okay, so I think the most important one's going to be, I don't care where we see this low. I just want to see us come towards 107k. I think this will be dependent on what we see later on. It'd be interesting to see what the data comes out as. But again, criteria-wise, we have printed past this low. That is the main important thing. Okay, for me. So I guess we'll see how it goes. In terms of our direct movements, these downtrends have been very clear of down move. And then we've come into an area. We have come to an area of reason, obviously towards lows, and then we come upwards. So I think for this to be a low, for me, it would be I would have to see why we've done this, and if this is actually an area of importance, I suppose. So actually, I'll draw this. Okay. Well, I could argue maybe that low we've come past and we've wicked past it. So technically, we could be in an area of, stopping point, if you will. We've come past the low here. We've obviously wicked past the low. We've come right back upwards. So potentially we could be seeing somewhat of an area here, similar to how we've seen before. So there's potential to stop here. So I think on a guarantee, what I will say is, I wouldn't be surprised. We don't have to necessarily come down or stay here. But what I will say for a certain is I definitely think we could see retracement upwards towards 105, 107k. That's what I'll leave it off with. Depending on whether it's low, because again, it's easier for me. It's harder to bank on a reversal than it is to bank on a continuation. And a continuation will be putting in that lower high. And again, obviously, it works until it doesn't. Obviously, we need to have that higher time frame bias. And I still think I am biased on this down move. To strengthen that bias, it will be weekly print below 102k. But other than that, I'm still negative. I can still see it coming down. So it's easier for me to not guarantee, obviously not financial advice. It's easier for me to look at it and kind of have more confidence in a lower high than it is to reverse some lows. But again, we've wicked past these lows. We've had quite a big wick here. We have this massive wick here, small body. We've come upwards. We've come down to this area. So we do have this area here, coming to about 99k, whatever it is going to be. What else do we have? We have the low of this area here towards 98k. So we do have something here. We could maybe wick to that area. We could hopefully print here. So we have seen this resistance. And again, like I've said, technically, I want to see it come towards at least about 105k. Technically, for a lower high. Okay. So, in terms of a stopping point at 104k, 104.5, it might not be an area, okay? But I do want to see it come toward, like I said, I do want to see it come towards this area about 105k. In this area, we have that previous resistance. We have this formated resistance on the otherwise here. So we could wick towards 106k, let's say, but I think 105k is going to be my area. And we do have technical, we have wick past the low here, a major low as well. This was quite a big wick here, which then continued to pump upwards. We've wicked past this, printed above it positively, and now we've come upwards, found resistance, come down, and done, and potentially could be doing a new low here. So if we can continue this move, obviously, I think data could potentially be positive or not. Obviously, it could be negative, as I'll say. So as I see on the chart right now, shorter term target would be towards 105k. I need to end doing this. I need to move on to the charts. Okay, I've got 19 minutes. Let me look at the chat there. I see some talking. So, what is this? I turn on RC charts. It's like Captain Charty. Overall bearish trend was forming, and it formed. Yeah, it's an overall bearish trend. It's a strong downtrend as well. Sorry about the bike. It's a very strong down move. Okay, it's very, very strong in my opinion. Superpower, SR flipping, weakness, point of failures. Is that for right now, or is it as a whole? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of times, like obviously, an order block, quote unquote, obviously whatever phrases you use, whatever technical analysis points you use, whatever. Flipping a support to resistance, weakness, point of failures. Sure. I've never used that phrase, but sure, I can understand where that could be. Feeling like it's going to touch 95k. It only has to break the resistance at 100k, and it's going to fail. Oh, it's going to fall to 93 to 95k. Resistance at 100k. Is that resistance for a down move or what? So 100k being here, resistance at not 100k. Well, we're above 100k right now. So in terms of that being resistance for a down move, in terms of breaking through 100k, yeah, I mean. Again, this whole range, the theoretical anyway, being printing past that midpoint. We've come through it. I mean, what's more consistent is printing through the low and then using the midpoint resistance. Okay, because previously here, for example, we did come through that midpoint. We came through. We found support. This was this point here on the. I think it was one of these ones over here. We hit that. Midpoint. We came upwards. We came towards mid, and then we came upwards again. So, but like for the Ethereum, for example, we've seen these massive breaker blocks. We've physically printed through the low. So we haven't done that yet. We haven't got near that low. We have printed through the midpoint and come upwards and found resistance and start to come back downwards again. So there is potential for it. But we'll see. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much about the why so bearish. I think I'm bearish again. Weekly and daily is bearish. I think if that can start to translate towards the weekly, aka in 2 days, then I will be interested. But if we think stuff's going to go up towards 105, 107k, whatever it be, long term for a lower high, weekly will print positive. Weekly will print. We'll have this down move, up move. We'll have this down move, wicking past this low. We won't actually have a down print through this low, which I think would be very, very good. Because again, technically, with this high to a low, wicking past this high for and not printing through this high and coming downwards, we haven't done that. Okay, we haven't done that reversal yet, where we've not seen a higher high, and then we need to see a lower low. You know what I mean? We need to see that again. I don't care about a wick. We need to print through it. We've done this move, but we haven't printed. We need to see a print past lows. Okay, and obviously we did a low here, wherever it be exactly. I want to see it print lower than. And obviously this thing is like, okay, well, where's this low going to be? You know what I mean? Is it going to be printing past this low, or is it going to be this new low? Is the dependent one. But I think dependent on the trend upwards we've had, if we print through this low, maybe that could be trend based. But again, technically the latest low was 102, so it's safer than sorry, printing past 102. And if we don't see that based on retracement to 105, we print higher. That could mean longer term positivity, aka maybe into the next week's candle it could be more positive. But again, we'll see. I do want to move on to articles. I think on the last bull here, potentially. Yeah, potentially. Trump promised to pump our bags. I mean, Trump's promised a lot of things. Yeah, but yeah. All I know is Trump's done very good for himself. That's all I'll say. But I mean, again, it's American politics. I mean, I'm forced to care about American politics because of everything in America. The whole world revolves around America. You know, it's like the sun is America and everything else is just other countries. It's just, you know, just everything revolves around America. 98.1k is a high time frame low, so it is possible. In terms of 98.1k, is this? I'm showing that's going to be this. Yeah, I mean, again, that's the thing. So this is where that the order block mid is, where we're technically seeing a bit of resistance out on the daily, where the stronger reversal is printing through the low. So we've printed through the mid and we're seeing a bit of resistance, but when it's official, it's printing through that low. We haven't done that yet. So that's why it's like on the higher time frame, basically on the weekly support, weekly candle, I want to see that. So shorter term, we're still in this down move, but higher term, you know, 102k print. We still haven't printed through this low yet. I'm still not fully. It's not fully weekly bearish because I want to see that low print. But yeah, 105.8k next full imbalance flows. I assume that's where that gap was towards about. Depends on what. Yeah, here. Yeah. This is what we've been talking about here. Again, we had these we had this resistance we flipped, and then we used it as resistance here. As you can see, we obviously already talked about the high or low here. We already talked about this, obviously reversing with this candle and finding resistance at that midpoint there, and then use it and forming resistance in this form here, especially this green candle here. I could probably suspect. Obviously, we have this up close into this here and then down through. So somewhere in this area, obviously 105.8 with this area here, but either way, we have resistances in this area, also with this gap. So coming towards either filling this and whatnot. Obviously, like I said, equilibrium is going to be somewhere around 105.1. So coming up into this area about 105.8, I could definitely see. So yeah, I completely agree with you on 105.8 for sure. And this is 90k. Yes, it's one of my previous price points. We have the bottom and top of the bull market support band to break. Also, video is exploring, but it's kicking off. Enjoying Charles and arguing. That's good. I should probably go on Square. I should actually probably do that. Just tons of long their longs. Guys, just buy, guys. Just buy spot, guys. That's what you gotta do. Good morning. Oh, Tweak say good morning to you, Tweak. Thank you for joining. Curious Flip Bush. Well, you know, I mean, I think it's more of a, it's not a prediction, it's an observation. You know, it's like it, and I'm actually going to go on to prediction in a minute because we're gonna look at Zcash, whatever it's called. I can't remember. I haven't looked at that stream before. We're at all-time highs. I can't really predict anything other than I can't actually observe. I can only predict. So yeah, we'll be doing that. But again, you know, it's with price action and whatnot. It's like the higher chance of looking at a chart is going to be price action. But if you can't do that, you're going to have to predict, and that's all you really can do. So it's obviously dependent. But when you job at Crypto Warehouse video, again, obviously you're in a retirement home. You know, it's less. It's easier on the mind and the continuation of a flow. Obviously on stream you're constantly talking, you're constantly thinking, but you know, video editor, you just gotta chop where you stop talking, where you start talking. You know, you know, it's just you just have to chop out where I stop talking and where the guy stops talking. You know, it's binary. You know, it just takes a while. You know, but it's okay for, you know, you fell down the stairs, you hit your head, you need your medication. Okay, you're in your home. It'll be easy on you. You know. Anyway, I actually need to move on. You know, even though I've got 12 minutes, I still think I can finish in time. So, below peak, 72 of the top 100 cryptos remain over 50% below peak prices, says Galaxy Research. Galaxy Research finds 72 of the top 100 cryptocurrencies remain over 50% below all-time highs, with mid-cap altcoins down 80 to 95%, while Bitcoin and Ethereum hold within 30% of its peaks. So basically, let's look at this. So, within... Actually, no, let's go to the tweet, actually. So we've already read this, yeah, whatever. So we have each coin here, Solana and whatnot, and then their percentages. So this, I think, says two things. This is either coins which have never got anywhere, so coins which did its high, it did its run up, and it's never recovered. That's probably within these latter ends over here on the left. And then there's coins where they've just recently done their all-time high, and then we've had massive dips. For example, Bitcoin had its high not too long ago, in terms of had that massive wick. So this says, I think that says two things. It's a comment on the general down move across the board from its highs, and then it's the coins which have had no. So like Phil, ICP, IMX, Dot, Algo, Cake, Atom, and again, what I will say as well is these are coins which haven't done a new all-time high ever, and are also going to be the low positions from. Obviously, we had Trump, and we had that massive sell-off, and everyone died basically. And obviously, Atom, for example, all these coins, they fell a ridiculous amount. So, you know, again, a lot of these coins are pretty crap. So what does this say, realistically? Most of these coins have done a relatively new high. I mean, not all of them. Again, probably more less than most. Probably more less than most. But most of them haven't done new highs. For example, Crow. I can see Crow right there. We haven't done a new high. We haven't done... We've got nowhere near a new high. So I guess it's a comment on like what you should be buying. You know, coins where they're only down this much. The latter end over here on the right, they're only down this much, either because they're new or it's like Leo. I've not heard of Leo. It could be new. It could have done its new high relatively recently. So there's outliers. There's always gonna be outliers in data, but most of the coins are going to be ones which have done their new all-time high and are retracing and are majoritively in an uptrend on the higher time frame. Because if they've done an all-time high and are doing a new all-time high, then you know what I mean. So, but majority. So basically, what the comment I think this is going to be is, why would you bother buying anything else? Unless it's for utility and you're going to stake it and you're going to get utility out of it, you might as well buy nothing other than the top coins. Basically. So, anyway, Unfit AI. And I can actually talk about this one a bit more because I have first-hand experience with this. So, research shows AI struggles. I struggle with words. Struggles with freelance work and real-life tasks. No threat to jobs yet. So the research suggests that AI agents can't complete 97% of tasks on Upwork to even a basic standard. I think with that though, that's because again, you know, the modern age of data. And I remember I did an economics lesson for my A-level economics. I remember I did a lesson on this about and people posting data. And they can just label the X and Y charts whatever they want, and they don't have to start at zero. And people, there's so many stupid people out there who will read a chart and don't really read charts like that, and they'll look at it and go, "Oh my god, this bar's bigger than the other. That's really bad." And it starts at 90. The X0 Y0 starts at 97%, and then Y max will start at 100%. So the difference is 3%. So this bar might be 98%, the other one might be 99%. So they're within 1% of each other, but the bars are like this, and it's like, oh my god, this is bad, this is good, whatever. It's like people can just make charts however they want, and it's fine. It's not like it's against the law, but people need to read it. So I think when people make these statements, there's so much context stripped out of these, and I think the sentiment is there for the statement. However, I don't think it fully gives justice to the actual current situation. So I think it demeans the AI a slight bit more than what it is. So it's like, oh, 90% of tasks, it's basically a dumb terminal. It's just like, oh, it's just binary. It's not even thinking for itself. It can't do anything. But what are the jobs on Upwork? What are the actual jobs? Is it a sewing job? Are you gonna post a sewing job on Upwork? The AI can't do that, can it? So there's certain jobs, but if it's in tech jobs, some of the jobs, you know, I've looked on Indeed, obviously Indeed's actual jobs. I've looked on you know, Fiverr. I think Upwork is a Fiverr type, maybe. But I mean, so some of the jobs based on that is like, build me a full website with database, with this, that, the other, with this library, with authentication, with this language, and these sorts of paradigms. And it's like, yeah, the AI can't do that. Okay, so because people think AI is this magical human which does everything and it knows what it's doing. There's only so much context you can fit into the virtual RAM space. You load the entire checkpoint into RAM, and there's only so much context you can take in. So with AI, and this is the thing, you know, a lot of smart people, and I agree with it, is the programming jobs which will be replaced will be substituted with prompt-based jobs, because with AI in the current space, and I've used it firsthand, literally yesterday when I was doing something and I used it yesterday. You need to hold its hand. Even the best AI models with the biggest RAM, with the most context it can hold, with the most files it can load, with the most MCP protocols it can take, with the most functionality, you still need to hold its hand, which is fine. But we are not at that point. We are not at that point where we can just give the AI one prompt and it build the entire thing. It needs to do it in chunks. So I'm not surprised by this, but people will read this and go, oh, AI, yep, that's it. AI's over. But you still need to be worried. Well, not so much worried. You still need to be concerned about the fact that, or maybe not concerned, you should probably just use AI. If you're in a field where AI can replace you, you might as well just use AI right now. Because that's probably what your job's going to be at some point. Unless we're getting AI prompting AI, where AI can understand. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you still need to prompt an AI. If we get a language AI protocol which prompts an AI, I get that maybe we don't need prompt engineers. But if you're in a field where you need AI, you might as well start using AI yourself, because you're just demeaning yourself. And I'm someone who doesn't really use AI too much when I'm like programming stuff, because I'd rather do it myself. Like, because I haven't bought Claude Code or the Super Grok or anything like that. So I'm using the free stuff, and it's pretty naff. So I might as well. I spend more time reading the code and rewriting basically the whole thing than it would be just writing the whole thing myself. So yeah, I can completely agree with this, but I've basically talked about the entire thing. But anyway, the research suggests that AI doesn't struggle with multi-step workflows, taking initiative or using judgment, and this comes directly down to context. And the thing with this is checkpoints. I think the inefficiency is in the checkpoints. There's a ton of what's the word? What's on my mind? White space, I think it is probably. There's a bunch of white space in these models. They need to be stripped and pruned. And the amount of efficiency you can get from open source models versus the big ones, just because of the fact that these big companies are so lazy and they've got so much money, they could just throw GPUs, throw cooling, throw all this tech at these really inefficient models, when you can just go all the way over to open source and they're stripped for low tier. And Chinese open source models are a lot better, because they have to run on lower hardware, because they have these the GPU law system. I can't remember the exact ruling on it, but they have inefficient GPUs, so they need to strip all they can. They need to prune all they can. They need to make it as efficient as possible. And in people in the I talk to, and if you want to hear more about this, and this isn't an advertisement for the interview, but me and Nedos talked directly about this in the interview, because people just look at Grok and they just look at OpenAI, and that's all they know, because they don't explore outside. Because again, it's very hard to. There's no easy system between consumer and producer for open source models for people to load it. Compute is one. They use open source models, and this isn't advertisement Compute, but yeah. But I would argue that you should really look into it if you want to. If you are someone who uses AI, do look into some of the open source ones, because they really are so much better. But anyway, I need to move on. I was confident I could finish in time. I now have like 2 minutes, so I do need to move on. A study from MIT in August concluded that 95% of organizations have garnered zero from their collective $30 billion investment in AI. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess just put more money in. I think there's I talked about this in the interview as well. There's a balance between hardware and software, or there's a hardware and what gets produced for the software. And I think you can. It's either a case where you have really inefficient software systems, where it's either the inference programs, it's the checkpoints themselves. They can be really inefficient, but if you've got the GPU to back that up, so either NVIDIA needs to clutch up and produce the most goated GPU, or there needs to be a little bit more research into the actual inference programs which run the models, or the loading of models themselves. And I know there is research. There's 0-bit float, so there's like 16-bit, 8-bit float systems, and basically what that means is models are all just numbers. So the float is the preciseness of the number, basically. And floating point in programming on a low level is so inefficient. If you guys know about low level SNK, goodbye. Enjoy your meal. If you know anything about like lower level programming and the way floating point gets represented and binary, basically the way binary, like real numbers versus floating point, is two different worlds, and the inefficiency for floating point is there. So the amount of the numbers you can represent in floating point is so much less than real numbers, and especially positive numbers. Because if you go negative numbers and you're representing it in binary, it splits that number in half. So if you can represent 256, you now are barely representing 128 and minus 127. So The 0-bit float is basically the idea that you can use real numbers. I think it's something like you can use real numbers in checkpoints, and it makes it a lot better for processing. I need to stop talking about this though. Let's move on to privacy punt. Institutions are buying into the privacy coin hype, but will it last? While the majority of crypto market continues to face declines, privacy coins have demonstrated a rather surprising surge. Grayscale Research's October 2025 report notes, although crypto valuations were broadly although crypto valuations were broadly lower in October, a majority exception was that Zcash Networks' ZEC coin, which gained 248% during the month and reached a market cap of about $6.5 billion. I don't really care. Let's just go to the chart. So I'm gonna commit a cardinal sin. I haven't used this methodology of analysis in a long time, and some of you might know the shock and horrors I would produce with the amount of mess on the chart using this. Okay. But it's all I've got. It's all I've got, okay? Because I'm looking at this, and I can't look at this with any sort of retracement. I can't look at price action. We are literally at all-time high. I can't do anything other than look at this. So you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to just stick with me. So, we have the idea of equilibrium, okay? And we have seen resistance previously, and we have printed above high, which is a good thing, which means that we could see retracement. It's a bad thing, though, because on the idea that we have, the high, the low, the high, the low, okay? So what will that mean for the coin? Well, if we go from the most recent low to the high, I don't know why I'm on standard deviation here, it will be somewhere lower than $350. So either whatever I'm about to say right now, I think there could be a great old crash for Zcash. Zcrash, more like. So, bearing that in mind, whatever, taking it back. And you know what, actually looking at it, it's actually pretty accurate as to what you would expect for an equilibrium anyway. Whatever. So we have equilibrium before, we've seen plenty of resistance, we've printed below, the main area for equilibrium here, plenty of times here. And then we've seen it come down. And then obviously we've floated, done nothing. Again, this is like, I'm not looking at Bitcoin here, I'm looking at some crap project coin. So we're going to have these periods where we don't have anything going on. But we then ripped upwards. Booyah. And then obviously equilibrium, we did see some difficulty. Sometimes, we came to equilibrium, boom, no. Oh, rejection block here, support at midpoint, bang, rejection block, ka-chow. Came upwards, we're seeing a bit of difficulty. But difference is now, we have probably something on the daily here. We have a little gap here, ka-chow, boom, up we go. We printed through equilibrium. This is it, guys. Printed through equilibrium. Ripping. Oh, we're at the high now. Okay, so what we have here, importance. We need to print above this area, 655, 44. We need to print above that. If we don't, then we don't go upwards. We need to print above. Okay, we have the extension line where we can. So basically, the extension line is you can form rejection block at the extension line and form resistance. Okay, and if we do this and then print at 580. This will be resistance and we'll come back downwards, which means we'll come probably towards the equilibrium area, somewhere a bit lower. And again, if we mark out the recent low to the recent high, equilibrium is around about that area, which means we could probably come towards, if we look at price action now, on like the weekly, let's say, anything below equilibrium. So we have somewhere around about, let's say, $300. So like I said, $355, $300, I could definitely see retracement there. So if we start to print lower than this, form resistance at 650, we'll have a rejection block here, we'll see resistance, we'll come lower. We have this whole candle to come into as well. I will admit, we have this whole thing. But you can see, most of these wicks are recovering these gaps. Most of these wicks are covering these gaps. We don't really have that many gaps here. And then we come downwards here. So what I will say also is we do have this equilibrium. We do have a order block here on the daily, which starts around about here. Let's just draw a line there. So we do have that there. So obviously you can see we have this up close, wicking past this high, failing to print past it, coming down into this big old gap here, printing upwards, and obviously we did wick through. I will admit we didn't print through it, so shut your mouth. Took these lows, came upwards continuously. We do have something here. We printed, more importantly, above where that high is with this candle, which is what matters. Printed above the high, came upwards. So we do have something at 340. So I do expect at least a 350 retracement long term. If we don't have that print, if we print through this, find support, come upwards. Great, whatever. We'll come upwards. But are we going to do that? I don't know. So Zcash, bearish. There you go. Done. Going to the last article. I know I am 5 minutes over. I do apologize. Circle weighs in on Genius Act implementation. Simple, strong rules. That's the last chart as well. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Okay. The US Treasury Department accepted comments related to the implementation of stablecoin bill until Tuesday as a part of the law's planned rollout. Stablecoin issuer Circle has advocated for a level playing field among banks, non-banks, and stablecoin issuers as the US Treasury Department considers implementing the Genius Act following its signing into law the July. Let's look at the quotes. Bank, non-bank, domestic, and foreign issuers should follow the same rules to protect consumers from bearing the risk of any regulatory shortcuts. Yeah, I agree. Yes, they said that. Clear requirements for accessing US markets and shared supervision with trusted foreign regimes promote competition while preventing offshore arbitrage. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this so far. And then this is a different article, I believe. Circle's recommendations came as part of a second round of public comments on the implementation of Genius through US President Donald Trump signed the stablecoin bill into law in July. It will take effect either 18 months after the enactment or 120 days after regulators approve regulations related to implementation. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's good to have a general positive consensus, like you kind of mentioned down here with I just read it. Where it's gone? Regulator. Oh, I noticed regulators, not actors within this. Obviously, like Circle. It's good that it would be good to have a general consensus network within offshore and onshore systems for financing with America, especially. This is great. I mean, it's good for consumers. There's not really much for me to say. It's not like I can disagree with this or look at a chart. But it's good to see that people who will be directly affected or people in this sort of market who will be affected by this are on the side of this. I think this is a no-brainer agreement, which, again, this will be positive for the future of crypto as a whole, especially if stablecoins, again, because no matter what you're traded in, you probably have some sort of stablecoin in your wallet. I would argue, maybe. If you are someone who has a wallet and holds certain coins or whatever, different centralized or decentralized systems of holding crypto, whether it's you own it, you hold it yourself, or it's on a centralized exchange, you probably have some sort of stablecoin in your wallet. Okay, so it's good to see that this will be positive for the future of crypto as a whole. So it's good to see that they're positive on this. But that's pretty much it. I don't really have much to say about that. So that being the last article, I can move to the outro, and I can thank you guys. So thank you, all of you, for joining, whether you joined late or early. Thank you, obviously, Snek, SNK. Not Snack. Was here. Let's see. He said stuff. Reading charts can only be done on hard time frames for long-term investments. If you're going to trade at the moment, you read DOM Ladder and Heat Map. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of times that it can work, but the fact that orders don't have to be permanent. Again, the fixing of orders being permanent won't help. But I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of profitable traders who trade heat maps and all those, the order books and whatnot. But, the amount of times I've watched an order books trying to learn how to use it, and I've just seen this massive block of orders, and it just poof, out of nowhere disappears. It's like, what's the point? You're sitting on this area which you don't know works. I think if you use it in Confluence, like if you look at the charts, look at price action, look at inefficiency, and if you can see maybe equal highs, let's say, as an example. If you see a bunch of equal highs, you're like, okay, well, if we whip past this area, this should be a sell area. And then you go to a heat map where the orders are, just to get a cumulative where the orders are. And you see orders there, or maybe if you see a big old gap, big old candle gap, and you see actual orders in that area, maybe it could be positive. I've never looked into it. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I guess it could help, especially on lower time frames if it's fast enough. Maybe, I guess. But anyway, I don't want to speak too much anymore because I am 8 minutes over 12:08. So I will thank you again. Like I said, thank you also. Thank you, Danny. Michael's here. Thank you, Kate. B. Thank you, Manjeet, for being here. Was it? Tariq was here. I don't know if Tariq's still here. But maybe Hidden Agendas I know was here. Thank you. You as well. Mags, Bullish Bull. I don't know if they're still here or not. But thank you regardless. So later on I'll be posting on Telegram. The chart card, I did miss it yesterday. I know some of you guys might be interested in to see what I might have to say. So I will post that later on in the Telegram. I'll probably post something maybe later as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you, have a good weekend yourself as well. I might post something as well about the data coming out to just update it in Telegram. I think that'll obviously be very important for what happens. Again, if that's negative, it probably might not be a great thing for the markets, but again, we will see how it leads into. So, you know what? I'll hold off the TA until the data comes out, just to see if anything happens. I'll just see if things follow along as we would expect or not. So I'll post probably later on today on the charts and the market data. Because again, if I was to stream, obviously today, like, you know, to do an afternoon stream, it would be at 9 p.m. my time. And I think data comes at 5 p.m. So I'll probably do it about 6 p.m. let's say. So yeah, I will keep that posted. So thank you all of you. Appreciate you all. Thank you for having me on this stream, on the morning stream. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. Again, like I said, I'll be back for the charts tomorrow, Saturday tomorrow. So I'll be back for the charts. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, from me. Watch out for the computer. If you're in, obviously I know I had a bit of a rant about AI. If you heard me talking about that and you're like, oh yeah, that was cool, you know, I agree with that, I want to learn, here's some more, maybe, especially from someone who's as professional, who's a PhD in computer security. I think on an interview, I was talking to Mike about this, I don't think I will ever be I wasn't intimidated by Nanos, but in terms of I will never look at someone else and go, okay, I need to be really serious about it. I'm not saying I'll treat an interview unseriously, but I don't think I'll ever approach an interview and approach it in the same way and be that intimidated. Like if I'm talking to someone who does charts, I don't care. He has a PhD in security. He taught lessons at Berkeley about RISC-V and FPGAs. He is a proper security guy. He was top tier, exactly. He was genuinely top tier. And it's crazy to think, like, in the crypto market, the chance that this guy right here, can talk to someone at that caliber, just because of the fact that he has a project which isn't at like Bitcoin level, is crazy. So he was a brilliant interview. And if you are interested in AI or interested in compute or interested in like general security and you want to talk to or hear someone talking about that sort of area, and you want to learn more about X402 and just how compute do it, do go watch that. Again, obviously, I don't want to undermine DME or WAM. I think they're still great interviews, but genuinely, I would watch the Nedos interview. I think it was brilliant. So please do that. I think it was. I think the questions were good. He was a brilliant interviewer. I think with him though, like every time I asked the first question, he would just talk for the entire topic. So I think he's used to people not knowing what they're talking about, asking him one question and letting him talk. So there's a lot of times where he'll have a big spiel with all the information I needed, and then I will still say the questions just to give the structure. But either way, it was brilliant. It went over 3 times the time allocated. Yeah, it was a long interview, but I think it was good. But I think, I don't know if we apply chapters. I think it'd be good to apply chapters to it just for people's sanity. So yeah, anyway, I need to end the stream. Thank you so much. See you guys in the Telegram later. See you guys tomorrow for the chart stream. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.